Thy nativity, O Christ our God, hath shined upon the world the light of knowledge, for thereby they that worship the stars were taught by a star to worship thee, the Son of Righteousness, and to know thee, the dayspring from on high.
The Christmas Eve supper ritual in many Slavic cultures is rich in folk traditions. In Ukrainian culture, these customs have remained remarkably constant, with apparent elements of ancestor worship and harvest rituals that blend easily with the celebration of the Nativity of Christ. Over time, new layers of meaning have developed, reflecting changes in the culture and the community. Victor Turner suggests that in studying rituals, we consider whether the ritual system is not a meaningless inheritance from a dead past, but something that meets contemporary needs, including the personal, the social, and the spiritual. Though there's a lot of information available in both popular and scholarly formats describing these customs, so far very little has been done to try to consider what Turner suggests.
What is so powerful in these traditions that they have remained largely intact, despite suffering numerous religious, political, and geographic disruptions? What is there in them today that still speaks to those who observe them? From its origins in the calendar ritual of Sviatki, the celebration of the return of the sun at the winter solstice, through 1,000 years of Christianity which transformed its symbolism, through centuries of attempted assimilation and cultural repression under the Russian Tsars, the Austro-Hungarian and Polish nobles, and worst of all, under fascism and communism. The ritual has been preserved through generations in Ukrainian families and communities who continue to find meaning in its observance. The Ukrainian Christmas Eve Holy Supper, Sviata Večera, consists of 12 meat and dairy-free dishes. Though the menu can vary, the mainstays include the obligatory kutya, a porridge made of boiled wheat or barley mixed with poppy seeds and honey, beet soup, potatoes or dumplings, and cabbage rolls stuffed with grain. The table is specially prepared by strewing hay under the white or embroidered tablecloth and under the table itself. An empty place is set in memory of those who have died. In the corner of the room stands the diduch, a sheaf of wheat tied with an embroidered towel. 3 braided loaves stacked together with a candle in the center may be on the table or on a nearby shelf. The meal begins with the appearance of the first star. The head of the household prays or sings the hymn, God before all ages is born, then takes a spoonful of the kutya and flings it to the ceiling. The more grains that stick, the more prosperous the new year. All partake of the kutya, and a few spoonfuls may be placed on the empty place setting and left overnight. In some families, treats are hidden in the hay beneath the table for children to find after supper. At the end of the meal, carols called kolyadke are sung. The Christmas Eve carols may be nativity hymns or ancient songs wishing prosperity to the household. People sing around the table, or where feasible, they go door to door. The oldest carols are those wishing prosperity. That is, if those within the house are generous enough with their hospitality, good food, and a little something to warm the blood. One of the oldest of such songs has been turned into the popular English Carol of the Bells. The original words tell the farmer to come out and survey his thriving farm. All's well, he'll be rich, and if not, so what? His wife is a dark-eyed beauty. The custom of bringing wheat into the house and having a large meal has been understood as a magical use of like to produce like. To eat from 12 dishes might ensure crops for all 12 months of the year. The baked breads reiterate the theme of abundance. Vladimir Prop connects wheat with the ancestor cult. The bundled wheat is called the diduch, which means grandfather spirit. From ancient rituals marking the rebirth of the sun and hopes for growth and abundance, these symbols easily fit the coming of Christianity and the birth of the Son of God. The first star became the Star of Bethlehem. The 12 dishes honored the 12 apostles. Christ became the bread of life, and the hay stood for the hay in the manger where Christ is born. Heaven and earth celebrate today. Christ is born. God became flesh. In the dark depths of the earth, the sun shone. Generations were born and died, but peasant life with its daily toil went unchanged well into the 20th century. No matter who was in power, Ukraine suffered. She suffered the most under communism. Stalin tore out the heart of the peasant's life. He took their bread and their God. Between war and terror, Ukrainians found ways to resist. A Christmas Eve carol from 1946 says, "A somber Christmas Eve in 46, fathers in Siberia, brothers gone to join the partisans." Immigrants preserved the culture abroad, and of those who remained in Ukraine, only the old ones kept Christmas Eve supper, singing the carols and remembering the dead, ancestors and victims, and praying for more abundant years.
Prayers were shared in the diaspora, where strong identification of folk culture and religion with Ukrainian nationalism had taken root. Nationalism added another layer of meaning to the observance of rituals such as Christmas Eve. Свята Вечера becomes an expression of identity and an act of spiritual resistance against the annihilation of that identity. Through schools and national organizations, Ukrainian immigrants saw it as their duty to pass on the culture to the next generation.
The Orange Revolution of December 2004, itself a Christmas miracle, has given rise to the task of forging a new Ukrainian identity. The Christmas Together project is part of that effort. Students and leaders from Western Ukraine and abroad who have kept the traditions share the supper and teach customs and ritual to their peers from other parts of the country. The ritual is no meaningless inheritance from a dead past for them, but something that meets contemporary needs. Like the ancient carols of prosperity, it wills a bright future.